Types of variables. There are two types of variables that we have. First one is categorical variables. Second one is numerical variables. So categorical are qualitative data, and then numerical are quantitative data. So for categorical, we have two types. We have nominal scales and ordinal scales. Nominal scales is when there's no ranking is implied, there's no preference involved. So the example that I gave you are marital status. So you could be single, you could be married, you could be divorced, you could be widowed. So there's no ranking, there's no preference involved in them. They're all the same. So therefore, this is nominal scales. Same for political parties. You could have conservative, you could have liberal, you could have Green Party. They're all the same. There's no ranking involved. Same for eye color. You could be blue eye color. You could be brown eye color. You could have black eye color. They're all the same. There's no ranking involved. There's no preference involved. So that's nominal scale. Ordinal scales is when there's ranking is implied. So the example I gave you is good, better, and best. Low, medium, and high. So high is preferred to medium, medium is preferred to low. So there's ranking involved, there's preference involved. For numerical variables, we have discrete variables and continuous variables. Discrete variables is when it can be counted. So they're whole numbers. So we have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So these are whole numbers. So that's discrete variables. Continuous variables is when we have a measuring process. So that means we can have decimals. So it could be 3.1, it could be 4.5, it could be 5, it could be 7, it could be 7.2. So it could be decimals, it could be fractions. So that's continuous. And for numerical variables, we also have measurement scales as well. So measurement scales only applies to numerical variables. And under measurement scales, we have interval scales and ratio scales. So interval scales is when we do not have a true 0 points. So that means we're not bounded by 0. So that means we can go below 0. So that means we can be negative. So that's interval scales. Ratio scales is the opposite, where we have a true 0 point. So that means we're bounded by zeros. So that means we cannot go beyond 0. So that means we cannot be negative. So that's how you can understand it. Example 1. When you're looking at example 1, what we're asked to do here is to identify the types of variables that we have. So question 1, do you have a Facebook profile? And the responses here is yes or no. So when you're identifying the types of data that you have, you need to look at the response. So the response will tell you what types of data that you have. So here we have yes or no. So these are not numbers, so therefore they're categorical variables. And for yes or no, there are no ranking involved. There's no preference. Therefore, these are nominal scales. Next is how many text messages have you sent in the past 3 days. So you could have sent 5 text messages, 23 text messages, 50 text messages. So these are numbers. So therefore, these are numerical variables. And these are discrete variables as well, because we cannot send half a text messages. We cannot send 4.1 text messages. So therefore, these are discrete variables. And there are also ratio scales, because we cannot send negative text messages. Question 3, how long did the mobile app update take to download? We could have 2.3 seconds, 5.1 seconds. So these are numerical variables. And they're also continuous variables because we can have decimals. And again, we're bounded by zeros. We cannot be negative, so therefore we're ratio scales. Next question, which cellular provider are you with? We could have Rogers, Telus, Bell, Fido. These are categorical variables. These are not numbers. And there's no ranking involved. There's no preference involved. We're not saying that Rogers is better than Telus. We're not saying that Telus is better than Bell. We're not saying that. We're saying that they're equal value. Next, what grade do you expect to achieve in this course? And the response here is A, B, C, D, F. So we know these are categorical variables because these are not numbers. And what we know is that A is preferred to B is preferred to C, and then C is preferred to D. So these are ordinal scales. There's ranking involved. And the last one, how satisfied are you with the service provided today? The response here is unsatisfied, neutral, and satisfied. So these are categorical variables. These are not numbers. And again, we have ordinal scales because satisfied is preferred to neutral and then neutral is preferred to unsatisfied.